Can you believe it? 3 of South Korea's biggest K-pop girl groups have done things for the LGBTQ+ community that we can't even imagine. There's no rainbow flag, just 3 girl groups breaking gender norms, redefining beauty standards, and quietly building a world where queer fans finally feel seen. Stay tuned to the end, because what they've done for the community might surprise you. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We want to know how these artists made you feel. They're not your typical girl group, and maybe that's why they're legendary. In the glitzy, glamorous world of K-pop, where every hair is choreographed and every giggle is practiced, MAMAMOO stepped in like they were missing out on purpose. They didn't debut in pristine white dresses or sing pastel ballads under soft lighting. Not at all. They showed up in suits, danced like no one was watching, and laughed like they didn't care if you were. And in doing so, they became something much more powerful than your average girl group. They became icons, especially to those who have never felt like the center of attention. Because MAMAMOO have never tried to fit in, they've always shone their own light. From the very beginning, Solar, Moonbyul, Ween, and Hwasa have gently pushed aside the unspoken expectations placed on K-pop girls. They don't follow a mold, they create their own rhythm. In a space where uniformity is often celebrated, MAMAMOO stands out simply by being sincere. Sincere in their style, sincere in their voices, sincere in the way they express themselves and each other. And somehow that sincerity, so rare and refreshing, has become their signature. Just look at their looks. While many groups lean toward ultra-feminine or overtly sexy styles, MAMAMOO exude a genderless, confident, and comfortable vibe. Hwasa, with her curves, dark skin, and charisma, has broken through Korea's strict beauty standards. She doesn't just show up, she dominates. Moonbyul, who often sports boyish outfits and short hair, moves with a confidence that doesn't need approval, but space. Her tomboy style and quiet strength have become a salvation for queer fans who have never seen themselves reflected on the K-pop stage. And it's not just what they look like, it's what they say and how they sing. With songs like Hip, MAMAMOO don't just celebrate self-love, they make it a declaration, a manifesto. You are who you are, I'll be who I am, and I'll keep growing. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to celebrate who you really are. Then there's Gogo Bebe, a whirlwind of freedom that turns a chaotic night into a joyous celebration. And Egotistic, where emotion transforms into strength and elegance. These aren't just catchy songs, they're lifelines. Reminders that joy can be loud, identity can be vibrant, and confidence doesn't require permission. For many fans, especially those in the LGBTQ+ community, MAMAMOO's music isn't just uplifting, it's enveloping them in a musical shield. A safe space where authenticity isn't just accepted, but celebrated. Because the truth is, growing up in the LGBTQ+ community, especially in a culture that values conformity, can make you feel like you're always on the outside. And when everyone seems to have a blueprint for how to live, love, and express themselves, that loneliness can turn into silence. But then a song like Hip comes on, or you see Moonbyul in a velvet tuxedo dancing with a woman on stage, or you hear Hwasa singing about living life on her own terms, and suddenly, you're not invisible anymore. Moonbyul has been open about how the love from LGBTQ+ fans has deeply affected her. She doesn't shy away from it, she embraces it wholeheartedly and gratefully. In an interview, she put it simply, "As long as I can make someone feel confident in being themselves, that's enough." For queer fans who have been ignored, erased, or treated as symbols by the media, that sincerity is impressive. But MAMAMOO didn't just show their support through interviews, they showed it through action. They deftly blur the lines between traditional gender roles in their performances, not to challenge, but to innovate. Whether it's playful duets with the same shoulder or choreography that blends strength and softness, MAMAMOO brings it all to the stage with ease and charm. And when their fan service leans toward intimate moments, it's never forced. It's natural, playful, and filled with mutual understanding. For MAMAMOO, the stage isn't just a place to perform. It's a place where they invite everyone in, where the message is clear: this moment is for all of us. Be yourselves. Even their fashion tells a story. One comeback, they'll show up in bold, tailored streetwear. The next, they'll dazzle in elegant dresses. And sometimes, they'll wear both at once. In one performance, Solar shows up in a sharp black suit, while Hwasa rocks leopard print with bold grace. In another, Moonbyul twirls around the stage in a baseball cap and a bright smile, dancing like the heroine of a K-drama. Only this time, the spotlight isn't on a man in love. It's on a woman. These aren't just style choices, they're quiet statements. In a world where style still says a lot about who you're expected to be, Mamamoo's wardrobe reminds fans that identity is multifaceted. Self-expression is beauty, and confidence isn't limited to one look or one role. They're not afraid to push boundaries, they dance across them. But their greatest gift isn't their voice, their looks, or even their message. It's the space they create. A space where fans who haven't been celebrated in pop culture can finally breathe, can finally dance, can finally believe that being different isn't just normal, it can be magical. And maybe that's why their connection with their fans feels so personal. Mamamoo don't promote themselves as allies. They simply exist in a way that makes space for everyone. Have you ever heard a lyric, witnessed a moment on stage, or watched someone completely own themselves and thought, wait, maybe I can do that too? Mamamoo didn't start a movement with a big speech or a sensational headline. They did it with a bang, with joy, with unflinching energy. And best of all, they did it without asking for permission. Because when you stop forcing yourself into a mold that was never meant for you, you create space. Space for others to step forward, to be themselves. And maybe that's the quiet magic. When you shine as yourself, you light the way for others. Has Mamamoo ever made you feel more seen, more confident, or just a little freer? Share your story in the comments, we're listening. In the world of K-pop, where perfectly polished images and silence on social issues are the industry's favorite accessories, Mamamoo were never expected to become the queer icons they are today. They didn't show up with rainbow flags or post hashtags during Pride Month, but somehow, unsaid, they became a safe haven for fans who never felt out. They didn't identify as LGBTQ+ allies, and yet, thousands of queer fans across Asia and beyond did. How? Let's start with what they chose not to do. They didn't fit the familiar K-pop girl group mold. No overly cutesy, no overly synchronized performances, no carefully constructed personas. Instead, they embraced spontaneity. They joked freely on air, gently mocked the pressures of beauty ideals, and took to the stage with confidence and playfulness. In a culture that often encourages women to be quietly polished, stylish, and comfortable, their vibrant, unscripted presence felt like a quiet revolution. It wasn't a rebellion for attention, it was an authenticity, punctuated by laughter and flair. And in that fresh authenticity, they offered something rare: the freedom to be themselves completely, unapologetically. That's the quiet brilliance of Mamamoo. They don't need to make bold statements to make queer fans feel understood. They simply stay true to themselves. From their fluid fashion sense that blends elegance and individuality to their performances that celebrate individuality, each choice speaks volumes. Moonbyul owns the stage in tailored suits. Hwasa exudes fearless feminine power. Ween and Solar move seamlessly between soft melodies and fierce raps. It's not, look at how bold we are, it's, this is us. And for fans who are quietly finding themselves, that sincerity means everything. There was one performance that resonated more than any slogan, and they didn't even advertise it. At the Korea Queer Culture Festival, Mamamoo quietly took the stage and sang Lady Gaga's Born This Way. No press, no fanfare, no stage, just four artists standing in the spotlight, delivering a song that has become a lifeline for millions. In a society where conversations about gender identity are still sensitive, their presence was more than a performance. It was a quiet gesture of solidarity. No costumes, no choreography, just heart. The lyrics spoke, and their voices carried something deeper than words. You matter, you are not alone, and it's never wrong to be yourself. And if Mamamoo is the group most committed to diversity, it's Hwasa. She's not your typical K-pop role model. She doesn't conform to social norms. On live TV, she once looked straight into the camera and said, I love who I am. In a world that constantly tells women, and especially queer people, that they need to soften, blend in, that's not just confidence. It's permission. Permission to be yourself, whole and strong. No wonder many LGBTQ+ fans call her their soul. But perhaps the quietest strength of Mamamoo's queer legacy isn't their fashion sense or stage presence. It's their bond. Their friendship isn't scripted or perfectly crafted. It's genuine. It's a love that demands nothing in return. Watching them together feels more like watching a pop group than a chosen family, the kind that laughs, bickers, hugs without hesitation, and is there when needed. For queer fans, especially those who have felt estranged from their own families, that connection is more than comfort. It's more than entertainment. It's a reminder that connection is real, and sometimes we find it in the most unexpected places. And the stories prove it. When Moon wrapped in a suit, I finally felt like a celebrity, wrote a gay fan from Vietnam. Hwasa's confidence made me stop apologizing for who I am, shared a transgender teen from Thailand. When Ween smiled at the crowd during Born This Way, I cried, said a lesbian fan in South Korea. Not because of what she said, because she looked so serious. And those stories? They echo around the world. Private, quiet moments of recognition, created by 4 women who were never considered queer icons, but somehow became icons. And let's not forget the music itself. Songs like Hip, Dikalkomani, Egotistic, they are not love letters to men or women. They are declarations of self-esteem, confidence, and passion. The lyrics are not codified, but inclusive. They make room for all kinds of love, all kinds of identities. That's not common in K-pop. But with Mamamoo, it comes naturally, not forced. Just a fierce celebration of being yourself, whatever that looks like. What do you think of a group that doesn't have to say anything, but still makes you feel seen for who they are? In a world where the word ally is often reduced to hashtags and merchandise sales, is showing up, showing love, steadfastness, and integrity really the most powerful form of support? Because Mamamoo never asked for the crown, but the queer community gave it to them anyway. They don't wear a rainbow. They are the rainbow, fearless and unapologetically bright. What's next? A girl group that created an entire universe for the weirdos, the dreamers, and the rebels. Join us in the story of LOONA, and how these 12 girls are redefining what it means to belong. A music video that's less than 4 minutes long and has made millions of queer fans around the world cry. In a world where K-pop is often synonymous with neon lights, high heels, and perfect dance moves, LOONA dared to whisper something softer, deeper, and infinitely more human. They didn't just debut a girl group, they created a constellation of stories. A cinematic universe, yes, but also a quiet rebellion. Not controversial, not shocking, but a look between 2 girls that stopped time for a generation. It was 2017, a time when most K-pop music videos still clung to outdated gender roles. The same formula repeated itself over and over again. Boy saves girl, girl blushes in embarrassment, and the cycle continued. But even before their official debut, LOONA quietly broke that mold. They simply showed us something braver. When Chu's solo music video for Heart Attack dropped, no one could have predicted the impact it would have. But for millions of LGBTQ+ fans around the world, it wasn't just a music video, it was a revelation. This wasn't queerbaiting. It was a visual love letter from one girl to another. Bold, tender, and unapologetically beautiful. We see Chu fall apart. Not in the dramatic, over-the-top way of Korean dramas, but the way queer people fall in real life. Slowly, scared, with wide eyes, shaking hands, and a heart that beats too hard at the wrong times. Every time Eve walks by, you feel Chu's breath catch. Every smile, every gesture, it's all so genuine, so vulnerable, so familiar. She doesn't confess. She doesn't have to. Her love is written by her following Eve and lingering in the silence that follows. And here's the kicker. There's no dialogue in the music video, just expressions. Just that look, something people are all too familiar with. A look of longing, a look that wonders if their feelings will ever be safe in the light. That's what makes Heart Attack different. It doesn't wrap queerness in metaphor. It doesn't hide it in the dark. It shines a light on, sweetly, gently, without reserve. It shows that sometimes the most eloquent declarations are made in whispers. And those whispers? They echo across continents. Within hours, fan forums were abuzz. Did that just happen? Are they allowed to do that in K-pop? And most importantly, why am I crying? International fans, especially lesbians, have called it what it is. The first openly lesbian moment in mainstream K-pop. A visceral story where the love between two girls isn't tragic, isn't washed out, it's beautiful. But what makes this moment so iconic isn't just its existence, it's how LOONA handled it afterward. There was no denial, no corporate backing down, no it's just a friendship interviews, there was just silence. A proper silence, a respectful silence, a silence that said, you saw what you saw, and we appreciate how you felt. And that, for LGBTQ+ fans, means a lot. Because fans are often told to be quiet, that their emotions are too loud, too dramatic, too wrong. But LOONA, they did the unthinkable. They held up a mirror to their audience, and they didn't flinch. They didn't turn away. And what made it even more powerful? These weren't veteran stars with decades of experience. They were teenage girls, juggling grueling schedules, whispering jokes over instant noodles, supporting each other through the struggles of the gym and the spotlight. Yet they instinctively knew something that many adults have forgotten. Representation isn't a gimmick, it's a lifeline. What they created wasn't a campaign, it was a quiet uprising, because it was heard in the hearts of those who needed it most. Of course, LOONA's devoted fan base, affectionately known as Orbit, elevated the moment with passion and creativity. Heart Attack was analyzed frame by frame on YouTube, Twitter, and fan forums. Humorous memes were interspersed with thoughtful reflections. Posts with titles like "Queer pseudotext is not pseudotext" celebrated the deeper meanings fans saw in the story. And yes, it may seem strange to treat a hair clip like a literary classic, but that's the beauty of fandom. We care. We imagine, we construct. We take every little detail and turn it into something rich, meaningful, and worth sharing. LOONA gave their fans more than music. They gave them recognition. For many, especially in countries where queerness is still taboo, this MV became a safe space, a digital sanctuary wrapped in pastel colors and rooftop solitude. And the most powerful part, LOONA never framed it as a bold move or a statement. They simply told a story. A tender, aching, beautiful story about a girl falling in love with another girl. No spotlight, no spectacle, just honesty. As if to gently say, this is normal, this is human. And in that quiet, unshaken truth, something shifted. That calm, unspoken courage presented without fuss or fanfare became a turning point. LOONA helped rewrite what was possible. And sometimes that's how real change begins. Not with noise, but with sincerity. Do you remember the first time a character, especially a female character, made you feel understood? Really, deeply understood in a way that no one else had before? Who is she? Is it a character from a drama? A book? A song? Share your story in the comments below. Let's create a space where those memories matter. Because they do. If K-pop has its own rules, LOONA seemed to have little interest in following them. Or if they do, they gently brush them aside and go their own way. And perhaps that's why they've become an unexpected source of comfort. Not just for music fans, but for anyone who's ever felt out of place. Because in LOONA's world, being different isn't a flaw. It's something to be celebrated, even quietly cherished. Their breakthrough didn't come with a bang. It came softly, like a breeze. Take Butterfly, for example. It's more than just a beautiful song with graceful choreography. It's like a silent promise. In the music video, girls from different backgrounds, different cultures, beliefs, and identities move through the world with lightness, joy, and freedom. One dances alone in a headscarf. Another spins on a rooftop with soft colors fluttering behind her. The two girls share a look that says it all without a word. It's subtle, it's sincere, and that's exactly the point. LOONA doesn't claim representation. They live it, naturally, effortlessly, like it's always been theirs. And maybe that's what makes LOONA different. In a K-pop landscape still dominated by rigid gender norms and carefully curated images, they bring something entirely new: ambiguity. Their fashion isn't strictly feminine or masculine, it's an in-between space. A playground of oversized suits, bold silhouettes, and hair colors that shift like shifting identities. Each member looks as if they're dressing not to please anyone, but to express someone they are. For fans, this is not only exciting, but also authentic. Because when you grow up in a world that tells you to shrink, seeing someone grow into themselves is healing. And LOONA, intentionally or not, have become a mirror for the misunderstood. You can see yourself in their aesthetics, in their movements, in their refusal to explain. But what's really impressive is how naturally they present queerness, without explanation or distance. They don't shy away from fan interpretations of their members' romantic lives. They don't shy away from a performance that ends with a girl leaning in close to another girl's ear, whispering something that makes her blush. There's a tenderness there that feels real. In K-pop, where same-sex skinship is often used to please fans and then awkwardly laughed at, LOONA never mocks or diminishes that intimacy. Instead, they let it be. Behind the scenes, the energy is just as strong. The candid clips showed the members laughing, teasing, holding hands, leaning on each other during the long wait. Not because of some concept, but simply because of who they are. There was a tenderness in their closeness, an unforced warmth. For many queer viewers, it was instantly familiar, not because it was labeled, but because it felt real. LOONA never set out to be everything, but by staying true to themselves, they became something incredibly meaningful to many. And then, there's the story of how it all began. Raw, unpredictable, and quietly brave. LOONA didn't come from one of the big three. They didn't have the safety net of industry power or guaranteed attention. Instead, they debuted with a concept that felt more like a dream than a strategy. 12 members, each releasing a solo track, revealed one by one over 18 months. It was bold, it was expensive, it was unlike anything K-pop had ever seen. But fans stayed. Orbit didn't just root for LOONA, they believed in them. And that belief has become something almost sacred. Especially in the queer community, LOONA has become living proof that even the most unique visions can be accepted. That even the softest, weirdest, most authentic parts of yourself are worthy of love and can find a place to belong. When Hi dropped, LOONA were no longer a rookie group, they were a movement. And it wasn't about chart positions or album sales, it was about meaning. In tennis dresses and sneakers, the girls leaped toward something bigger: freedom, possibility, and flight. The video ended with them leaping into the sky, not gently but boldly like girls who didn't need permission. They just kept going and claiming their place. It's no surprise that LOONA fan art has flourished in the LGBTQ+ community. Fancams from their concerts are meticulously edited with classic queer beats, turning each onstage moment into a deeply personal narrative. Across forums, Discord channels, and TikTok videos, LOONA are more than just a K-pop group. They're an emotion. A quiet defiance wrapped in color, rhythm, and light. And yet, through it all, they've never made a statement about who they are. No slogan, no hashtag, no rainbow merch released in June. Just 12 girls doing what they do best, performing authentically, loving each other openly, dancing as if freedom were a birthright, not a privilege. And maybe that's what makes them all the more endearing to queer audiences. Because this time, it's not about being invited. It's about realizing that you weren't excluded in the first place. How does it feel when a band dares to pursue their own path, even when it's risky, lonely, and misunderstood? Do you have that courage? Or do you already have it? Because as we move forward, we're entering the story of another band, one that doesn't flaunt its message, but instead embodies it. With the flashiness of its name and the boldness of its blood, they've become queer icons without even trying. Get ready for Red Velvet. They don't have to say, "I support LGBTQ+. Just a look, a hug, a song that makes you cry. In a world where words can be hollow and gestures are often forced, Red Velvet has done something rare. They make queer people feel seen without saying a word. They didn't debut with fireworks or rainbow flags. No one would call them a progressive group. But through their music, their natural chemistry, and their quiet way of expressing themselves, delivered something rare. A love letter to anyone who has ever loved in silence, especially anyone who has never had the chance to love freely. Red Velvet is a beautiful contrast done right. Wendy, Irene, Seulgi, Joy, and Yeri, each with their own unique voice, grace, and charisma, don't just perform together, they shine together. They're more than a girl group. They're an emotional canvas, a rich blend of emotion, style, and strength. They show us the many shades of femininity and the quiet power of love when it doesn't need to be explained, just felt. Let's revisit Bad Boy, because it's more than just a fan favorite. It marks a quiet turning point. The music video is slick, seductive, and mesmerizing, drawing you in with every frame. But its real power isn't in the style or the choreography. It's in the atmosphere. The subtle tension, the glances exchanged between the members feel electrifying, as if something unspoken is peeking out beneath the surface. A glimmer of light, a shared understanding. And in that small, millions of queer fans feel something shift. As if for a brief, beautiful moment, a door has opened, just enough to let in light and breath. And this isn't just a hopeful fantasy, it's a quiet resonance. The kind of resonance that queer people have always relied on to navigate the world. When society says your love shouldn't be public, you learn to listen differently, to find meaning in the eyes, in the gestures, in the lyrics that don't discriminate by gender, because maybe they're meant for everyone. Even Peekaboo, with its quirky plot and romantic horror feel, hints at something more than friendship. The girls aren't just characters in a concept. They reflect a bond that's deeper than what's typically seen on screen. A bond that's both mischievous and tender, mysterious and warm. Not just fun to watch, but relatable. And then there's Psycho, a song about love that's complicated, intense, unpredictable, but still beautiful. It's a story anyone can relate to. But when sung by 5 women clad in black lace and velvet, staring straight into the camera with raw vulnerability, the song becomes something more. A queer anthem, not because it follows a script, but because it speaks to emotion, not labels. It captures the intensity of loving wholeheartedly, even when the world doesn't always understand. And for many LGBTQ+ listeners, that feels all too real. Loving with all your heart, even when it's not always seen, but always felt. The most profound thing, though, isn't in a music video, but in the real-life connection between Irene and Seulgi. They've been close for years, but it wasn't until they released Monster as a duo that something extraordinary happened. The song is melancholy, seductive, almost cinematic. But the performance? It was the highlight. The way they looked at each other, the intimacy, the vulnerability. There was a moment on stage where Irene gently placed her hand on Seulgi's neck and the world just stopped. You don't need subtitles to feel it. No wonder queer fans affectionately call them the soft lesbian dream, because in Red Velvet, they see a love, soft, close, familiar, like the silent bond between 2 girls, whispering secrets in the dark, holding hands under tables, and laughing longer than they meant to. Red Velvet never says anything, but they never close their doors either. And in a world that closes things off too quickly, that quiet openness speaks volumes. Because sometimes the strongest form of acceptance isn't coming out or labeling, it's simply choosing not to look away. Red Velvet has always been lyrically ahead of their time. Songs like One of These Nights, Perfect Velvet, and Be Natural are built around open language, no set pronouns, no defined roles. Instead of telling a story, they leave room for each one. Any interpretation is valid. And for queer fans, that openness feels freeing, soft, unspoken, and deeply moving. It's not loud, it's not forced, but it's there. And in its quiet way, it changes everything. Their stage presence only reinforces that message. Red Velvet doesn't rely on gimmicks. There are no kisses or stage drama. Instead, they bring subtlety, a gentle touch, a loving glance during an encore, a quiet, heartfelt moment without a script. Their style defies convention. Tailored suits accented with red lipstick, flowing dresses accented with combat boots. Each performance blurs the lines between soft and strong, traditional and new. They dance in that in-between space, making their fans feel safe. Because Red Velvet understands what so many have forgotten. And you don't need a rainbow to let someone know they belong. Sometimes, all it takes is a song that doesn't alienate you, a performance that doesn't erase your existence, an idol who looks into the camera like they know exactly what you've been through and isn't afraid to say "me too," even with just a glance. And maybe that's why Red Velvet is so beloved by queer fans, not just in Korea, but all over the world. From Manila to New York, from Bangkok to Sao Paulo. Fans who cry while listening to Would You, people who rewatch Irene and Seulgi moments over and over again, people who find courage in tenderness, hope in ambiguity, and freedom in 5 voices who never once made them feel like others. Have you ever watched a music video that didn't mention LGBTQ+ once and still felt completely, unconditionally loved? If the answer is yes, leave your story in the comments because someone out there needs to know. They're not the only one who feels it. But of course, Red Velvet's appeal goes beyond one MV or one iconic couple. Because if you thought Bad Boy and Monster were subtle love letters to queer fans, wait until we dig deeper into the little-known B-sides, the fan interactions, the wordless live performances that speak volumes. Let's peel back another layer of Red Velvet and see how their art continues to create space for freedom, tenderness, and love beyond stereotypes. In the world of K-pop, bold statements are rare. When it comes to LGBTQ+ representation, most groups tread carefully if they admit it at all. But Red Velvet took a different path. They didn't wave flags or shout slogans. Instead, they created something much more lasting, an emotion. From the start, Red Velvet didn't set out to be icons or advocates. But through their art, dreamy, unique, and quietly charming, they began to reach out to people who had long felt left out. Specifically, queer young people who weren't looking for attention. They were looking for tenderness, for safety, for a sound that wrapped around them and whispered, "You matter," unconditionally, without explanation. Take Wendy. She once said in an interview that she deeply empathizes with those who are judged for being different. It wasn't a PR stunt. There was no trending hashtag. Just a heartfelt statement, a warm hug for anyone who has ever felt too queer for the world. Her words weren't flowery, but they were real. And in a culture where so many queer people are taught to hide or shrink, hearing that quiet affirmation from a superstar, it was priceless. Then there's Seulgi. Often described as the calm center of the group, she's the embodiment of authenticity. While others in the industry perfect their image down to the last hair, Seulgi remains true to herself. She's spoken more than once about the importance of being yourself. And she means it. Whether she's dancing in oversized street clothes or glimmering couture on stage, she delivers the same message. You don't have to change to fit in. Your differences can be your strength. For LGBTQ+ fans, Red Velvet is more than a band. They're a safe haven, where love isn't watered down or hidden, where tenderness is protected, where difference isn't something to be overcome, but something to be celebrated. They've never stood on stage and declared themselves allies of the LGBTQ+ community. And maybe that's why it resonates, because their support doesn't feel rehearsed. It's genuine. It's alive in their lyrics, lingering in their eyes, and echoing in their choices. Not to express acceptance, but to embody it, softly, unwaveringly, and wordlessly. Red Velvet's music doesn't just tell stories, it reveals something deeper. Each track, from One of These Nights to Bad Boy to Be Natural, isn't just a song, it's an open canvas. With lyrics that resist rigid stereotypes and emotions that flow freely beyond gender, their music becomes a reflection, shaped by the listener's own truth. There's no script, no preconceived version of what love should look like or sound like. There's just space. Space to feel, to reflect, to see yourself in the silence between notes. And for queer fans in particular, that openness isn't just refreshing, it's rare. It's like finding air in a world that often forgets how to make room for difference. And then there's the fashion, where the message is delivered before the lyrics even begin. One era, they floated in soft pastels, like a dream you never wanted to wake up from. But the next, they strode out in tailored suits and high heels, resonating with a quiet power. Red Velvet don't confine themselves to any one image, and they never expect their fans to either. They embrace change, not just stylistically, but spiritually. And in that quiet confidence, they send out an unspoken invitation to be yourself, whoever you choose to be today. Because true authenticity doesn't ask for accolades, it simply asks for the freedom to exist. But what really sets them apart goes beyond the stage. It's the moments when the music drops and the cameras stop rolling. In their candid behind-the-scenes clips, they're not idols. They're sisters. They're friends. There's something beautiful in between. They laugh until they cry. They fix each other's hair between interviews. They hold hands without hesitation. For queer fans who have had to hide that tenderness, who have been told that their tenderness is too much or that their intimacy is something to hide, these moments matter. They become proof that intimacy can be natural, fun, and freeing. Red Velvet have never themselves as activists. They don't wrap their affiliation around a brand. Instead, what they offer is something much more enduring: authenticity. A solid presence that doesn't need flashy gestures to feel real. While some groups shine only during Pride Month, Red Velvet offers something deeper: consistency. A quiet, steady understanding that love, identity, and connection aren't fixed, they're fluid. And no one should be forced to fit into a certain mold. And maybe that's why so many LGBTQ+ fans affectionately call them emotional heaven. Because when the world gets too loud, too heavy, too overwhelming, Red Velvet becomes a haven. A quiet space to breathe, to feel, to exist without reason. A place where you can dance barefoot in your room at 2 a.m., arms wide open, heart unguarded, and just for a moment, feel whole. In a world where glamour often hides privacy, Red Velvet chose a quieter courage. They chose depth, complexity, vulnerability. And in doing so, they not only earned admiration, but they forged a connection that transcended charts and spotlight moments. It was the kind of bond that existed in silence, softly speaking when everything else seemed too loud. And for those who yearned to be seen, that gentle whisper became everything. Of these three legendary girl groups, MAMAMOO, LOONA, and Red Velvet, which one speaks to your soul? Which group makes you feel safe, seen, understood? What lyrics resonate in your heart when the world feels heavy? What moments remind you that you belong here just the way you are? We'd love to hear your story in the comments. Your voice is not only welcome, but it's part of what makes this space tick. Not everyone dares to sing about freedom. But these three girl groups didn't just sing, they lived it to the fullest. And in doing so, they left us with something unforgettable. Not loud, but sincere. If their music ever made you smile, cry, or feel a little braver to be yourself, don't keep it to yourself. Share your story in the comments. Let's make this a space where all shades of identity are welcomed, respected, and celebrated. Thank you for watching. If this story touches your heart, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and discover more untold stories that deserve attention. We're building a space for open conversations, honest voices, and meaningful connections. Your thoughts matter, and we're listening.